It's been 5 years since I started to attempt living a more sustainable life, and on this video I want to share with you what I've learned so far. This video is less about tips on things to buy and more focused on actions to take, like learning what's on our everyday products, where does our recycling actually go, reducing our waste, refusing to buy new unnecessary stuff, and starting by looking at what's already in our trash. I hope you enjoy it! It's been 5 years since I decided to attempt to live a more sustainable existence on Earth, and I thought 5 years would be a great time to share with you some of the things that I've learned throughout this journey. I know that we all live in different parts of the world, and our accessibility to zero waste shops and package-free things vary from person to person, from city to city, from town to town. So what I'm sharing today is what has worked for me. I started this more sustainable existence journey 5 years ago when I was living in New York City, and now I live in the woods. So there's been a lot of shifts within my life this last 5 years, and I am so excited to be sharing a little bit of this journey with you. I am by no ways like a zero waste guru. I actually don't live like completely zero waste, and I don't have my own homestead, and there's so many things that I am still working towards on my journey. My journey is less than perfect in so many aspects, but I think that doesn't mean that all of us living a non-perfect sustainable life, we all have the capacity to share where we are in our journey. And I feel that within this past 5 years, there's so much that I've learned that I'm quite excited to be sharing it with you today. I also wanted to mention that by sharing this video, by no means I believe that us as the consumers, to give ourselves a name, are the ones that are fully responsible of climate change, or we are fully responsible and all the responsibility is on us to make great choices. I truly believe that this comes in hand with which people we vote for to have in our governments. It goes in hand with keep calling and keep pressing Big Brother and big corporations to make the change. There's so many things that are way bigger than us as an individual, that I think that it's not like all the pressure should be on us, the civils from the world. I think there's a lot of responsibility that goes in the hands of brands, that goes in the hands of huge corporations, specifically the ones that are fossil fuel run, the petroleum companies, the ones that are extracting from native indigenous lands. And we could just have a whole video on that. But today I am fully focusing on the changes that I, as a human being, have made within this last 5 years. So I have my tea, I have my notes. There are snippets of videos that I've been filming throughout the past 5 years that I will be inserting and sharing with you here. I will also try to answer as many questions as I can on this video's comments. So if at any point you have any question, please feel free to leave it in the comments. And I've also come to realize that there are two main parts of my life where I've decided to make changes 5 years ago. One of them is me as a human being living in a house, and the other one is me as an artist having a small art business. So I thought I'd focus this video on me as a human being, because I think there's so much to cover today, and I would love to make another video specifically about art making and running a small sustainable art business, or trying to. So today will be a lot about my household and the changes that I have made as a person. So I wanted to get started with a question that I get asked the most: where do I even start, and how do I start make changes within my home? And I think that the first thing is, I believe that we start with what we already own. This video is not going to be me telling you buy all of these sustainable things when probably you don't even need them. And that's something very big that I've learned within these past 5 years. When we start this journey towards living more sustainable, it can be very tempting to go to the package free or to the zero waste shop that we have nearby, if we have the blessing of having one of those shops wherever we live, and getting everything new sustainably made. I think that is one of the biggest errors that I made. There's so many things that I bought that I didn't really need, and others that I never changed. So let's say up until today I own these very ugly hairbrush that I've had since I can even remember. I've had it since I lived in Peru, so more than 10 years, and it's made of plastic, and it's been probably made in terrible conditions. I had no conscience of where I was getting my things, and this is not something that I would ask myself back in the day. So I never went to the shop and got a new beautifully, sustainably fair trade bamboo hair comb, because I already own one that, even though it may be made out of plastic and it may not be the most aesthetic hairbrush in the world, I already own it. And tossing that one in the trash just to get a new one that is made out of bamboo, made in amazing ways, doesn't make any sense. So I still own my same horrible hairbrush that I've had for more than 10 years, and I will keep using it until it falls apart, because it's already here. I already own it. And by not acquiring something new, not only am I saving money, but also, even if the other hair comb is made of bamboo, there's still a whole process that goes into creating that product. So by not buying that, I think that I am making the smarter decision. And I've come to realize that a lot of these plastic-free July videos start with get all these new things that you might need in your home, when actually that is a one-to-one person scenario where we can look within the things we own and then take the decisions of what things we want to acquire that are made sustainable, that are made in respecting fair trade, and that are made of biodegradable, compostable, or reusable materials. So that brings me to the second thing that I wanted to touch base on, which is I believe that the best way to start, and the way that I've kept over and over come back to these key point in my practice, is to take a look at your trash. We take our trash out once a week, and sometimes we actually take it out once every 15 days because we don't make that much trash within 1 week. And I think that is a great way to start. So before I keep sharing about the things that I've learned in these 5 years on trying to live more sustainable, I want to say thank you to today's video sponsor, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is the virtual home of my online shop, my art portfolio, my email campaigns, my website, my all things Caro Arevalo online, and I couldn't recommend them enough. I've been working with them since 2018, and they have truly made my online world so much easier. They have award-winning templates that can help you build your website in so little time and actually make it look amazing from any platform or device that people are watching your website from. I am so excited to be switching to Squarespace 7.1 in order to try their new fluid engine things. And we are partnering up to give you a 2-week free trial. You can go to this video's first link in order to make use of that trial. And once you're ready to launch, you can use the code Caro Arevalo to get 10% of your first purchase of a website or domain with them. Really, whenever you collect your trash for a week or 2 weeks or a day, however often you collect your home trash, just take a look into what is in that trash. What are you actually tossing into the world? And I'm not talking about recyclables. I'm first of all specifically talking about the trash bin that then goes into a dumpster and then goes to a landfill in planet Earth. I think it's so important for all of us, including myself, to remind ourselves as often as we can that whatever we toss into the trash can from our home is leaving our home, but it's not leaving planet Earth ever. So it will be, that bag will exist forever somewhere. So I think that for me is the most important key part. Like, open your trash bag and see what are the things that you are tossing. And something that has helped me a lot is keeping a list. So if I am taking my trash out once a week. I'll make a list of everything that is in that trash bag, and then the next week I'll make the same list, and I kept doing these for a month or two. And then within that list, I could see the things that I was repeatedly putting in the trash. So let's say I was using, at the time when I started this journey, I was not composting my food, and I will be talking about composting later in this video. There's timestamps here, so you're able to go back and forth or just see the section that you're interested in watching. But I was not composting at the time, so a lot of food leftovers, or let's say the banana peels or parts of the food that I wouldn't eat, were going to my trash. And okay, how can I stop putting that in the trash? Is there a smarter way to dispose of these things? And there is. For food related items, we can compost. Let's say at the time I realized that I was, first of all, using a plastic bag, and then I asked myself, is there any option? I will keep buying plastic bags because that's the nature of things. It's not that I use one trash bag for the rest of my life. I will use them a lot. So is there a more sustainable way of this thing that I will keep buying very often? Is there a more sustainable, or is there a sustainable alternative to this? And I found that I was able to buy 100% recycled plastic trash bags. So that's what I've been using. At a time I also tried using biodegradable bags, but they're smaller, so I don't use those anymore. And that was one way to go about the trash bags themselves. So many other things, into my trash. I was putting my period product. For my period, I changed to period underwear, and that's a topic that I haven't resolved up until today. I think that's something that I am constantly learning within this journey, is that it's a lot of trial and error. Something that might work for me might not work for another person. Something that worked for me for 3 years might not work for me any longer. I used to use the period underwear by the brand Thinx, and Thinx got into a lawsuit earlier this year because they found a lot of harmful chemicals within the period underwear that they sold. So I don't want to use that anymore because they can be cancerogenous, or they can help, or they can promote your body to be infertile, and so many things that are so wrong with these chemicals. So I think that it's a trial and error experience, and a lot of things that we should consider. Also, in the topic of period underwear, the non-reusable period underwear, like tampons or toallas higiénicas, which I don't know how to say in English, those also contain a bunch of harmful, very harmful chemicals for our bodies, for our yonis, for our reproductive system. A bunch of them are cancerogenous. So it's not that it's only the reusable period underwear. We could make a whole video about how horrible the period products are, but I am now using some pads. That's the word, pads. Now I'm using some pads that are made of 100% organic cotton that I've bought. I would love to get myself a sewing machine at some point and make my own, but yeah, I'm going off topic. Just to say that whatever you're putting in your trash, just ask yourself, is there anything that I could use more often that doesn't need to be single use, that it doesn't need to be tossed, that I can find in my home, that someone that I know owns? Or is it time to make a swap? So I made the swap from single-use period products to multiple-use period underwear that I've reused over and over again for the last 5 years. And you can do this same practice with everything that goes into your recycling. Even if things are being recycled, the way recycling works in the US and probably some other countries, I am not sure, but the recycling part of it is happening within the country, and part of it is being shipped overseas to be recycled in another country. That itself includes fossil fuels transporting your recyclables from one country to the other. And there's moments in time where countries that usually would recycle the United States trash wouldn't accept new trash because they already have so much recyclable trash. So then all of the things that people were putting in the recycling bin were actually not being recycled. So recycling is the third best thing that we could do, but it's not ideal either. You can actually also go through your recycling and see what things that you're constantly buying. Do the same exercise for a month. That's what I was doing, and it really helped me. And I think that maybe once every 2 years I would make this list again and check myself, like what am I recycling? What am I putting in my recycling very often, at least twice a month, which is a lot. So I realized that I was putting my shampoo containers and my conditioner containers and my soap containers, and I realized that in my recycling I was putting containers from food to go. I used to work at a restaurant and we would get meals, so I would get either paper bags or paper boxes or plastic containers, and these would go into either the recycling or the trash. I realized that I was putting a lot of period products like tampons and whatnot, and I just started making a list. So from the things that I'm tossing, the next part of my phase was just having this list, ask myself, is there any way that these things that I am disposing, either recycling or putting in the trash? And the same goes to changing the shampoo and conditioner that I used. I realized I am every month or so tossing empty containers. Those containers are single use for my shampoo, conditioner, and soap. So I 5 years ago made the change to soap and conditioner bars, and I found the brand that works heavenly for me. There's a gazillion of shampoo and conditioner bar brands around the world, and the ones that work for me are by Meow Meow Tweet, which is a New York based company, and it's 100% made out of plants. And I love my shampoo bars and conditioner bars from Meow Meow Tweet, and I usually get like 20 at the time, and then they just last literally for years. And I'm not tossing any new plastic containers into the world anymore, which for me is very exciting. And I think this thought process has really helped me to see how can I stop making new trash, which at the end of the day I think is one of the best ways we can go about the sustainability journey. Because yes, most of us within our homes have the luck of having a kitchen, a bedroom, a bathroom, and etc. Maybe a work studio, maybe a laundry, maybe a gym, I don't know, wherever, it's your home. But there are so many products that are out there that come in either reusable containers or that we can buy in bulk. And that brings me to the next topic that I wanted to touch base on. I have found that finding your local bulk shop is such a gem. Had the luck of living in cities like New York City, where I had different options for zero waste shops or bulk shops. In the ones I could buy my food in bulk, and now that I live in the woods, I live in Woodstock town. Our town used to have a zero waste shop, a bulk shop, which is now gone. I was very hurt in the pandemic and it really didn't survive, which sucked. But I have the luck of within my town having a shop that is like a stationary gift shop, which is beautiful, and they have a small bulk area for all things bathroom. So now I get a few of my bulk things for the toilet there. And yeah, within this town I also have a bunch of zero waste shops, not within my town, but in the closer towns around me. There is a zero waste little bus that goes to the Kingston Farmers Market, which is 20 minutes away from here. And that is a topic which I think is also pretty important. I got my period while filming this video. So back to it. If you are driving to a bulk shop or to a zero waste shop, what I think is a good idea is to drive there and get as many things or as much as possible as you can, so you don't need to be driving every week or every other week. I have to drive to my closest bulk shop for all things kitchen, and what I try to do is once I go, I bring all my reusable canvas bags, and I have some big ones, so I get as much as I can, leaving enough for the rest of the people, of course, but then I don't need to go back driving into the bulk shop for a month or 2 months. So I think that is a smart way to do it. So at the end of the day, we're not contaminating by buying bulk, but then contaminating a lot by driving the car super often in order to go buy at the bulk shop. And I am from Peru. I currently live in Woodstock in upstate New York, and I've been in the States for 10 years. So I know by experience that when zero waste and bulk shops and package-free shops started emerging in New York, they were not a thing in Peru. So if I would go to visit my family either in Lima or in Tarapoto in the jungle of Peru, I wouldn't be able to find a zero waste shop under that name. But I could just figure out if there was any other type of shop where bulk options were offered, even though the shop was not called a zero waste shop or a package-free shop. And yes, in Peru we have markets, we have supermarkets, but the markets are the holy grail of the country because you can go and buy pretty much everything in bulk, legumes and grains and fruits and veggies and all the things. So I would just need to make a little research, not only going back home to Peru, but every time that I've traveled, where can I get the bulk stuff? And I have come to realize that, I don't know if this is just the perspective that I've had from the places that I've been, but every time that I go and I travel to a new place, I love to go to their local bulk shop. Sometimes their supermarkets have a bulk section for nuts and legumes and whatnot. So if I'm traveling and I'm staying there for a time, the first place that I go, besides the place where I'm staying, is their either local food co-op, or usually food co-ops have a bulk section. So I would buy my food to cook during my stay in this new place or town from the local food co-op. And if there's any like toiletries or things that I forgot, which is usually not the case, but if, you know, I forgot to bring my toothbrush or I forgot to bring my shampoo bar or whatever, I would try and do a little research and see if the town where I will be staying has a place where I could buy a shampoo bar. And I think it's not only great to keep your life ethos and the companies that you usually like to support, like the ones that are, you know, trying to do better for Earth, but you're actually also supporting a local small business, as usually the places that sell these products are. So for me, that's actually something which I love. A lot of these shops, the zero waste shops that I've been during my travels, they offer their own zero waste products. And I think that's also a beautiful way to support these businesses that are really envisioning the future that I assume that all of us watching this video want in our world. So yeah, without even realizing, I'm already talking about the next topic and the next thing which I have really loved in this journey in the last 5 years, which is bulk. Bulk everything really has been such a transformative journey for my life, and I talk about bulk for all things kitchen, eating, also for cleaning and for the bathroom, including my toiletries. And I know that from experience that having guests in your home where you are living this journey of trying to be and have a more sustainable existence, it may be uncomfortable for the people that visit you to try shampoo bars or conditioner bars, or, you know, maybe you use the toothpaste tablets. I haven't tried those yet, and that's what I mean when I say I'm not doing sustainability 100%. I still use toothpaste that comes in a toothpaste container, and I will talk about how I dispose about those later. But you have two options there when you are hosting people, or maybe, you know, it's your parents and they're not used to this type of living, or some friends who you think like this might be very uncomfortable for. You can actually still, you know, go by your ethos and say like, hey, sorry, in this house we only use conditioner and shampoo bars. You're welcome to try them. Maybe have one that is special for them so they get to like try their own new bar. And maybe someone will say like, I actually love this bar, it worked wonderfully for me, and they'll make the switch. And the other approach is when you go to the bulk shop, maybe getting a bulk shampoo for them. And that's something that I personally do. So me and my husband use the shampoo and conditioner bars that I have been using for the past 5 years, but I have a mason jar with liquid shampoo and liquid conditioner that I get at my local bulk shop for whenever guests come and stay with us. So in that way, they are not like then running to the shop, getting a plastic bottle of liquid shampoo because they're like, I'm not gonna try that bar. So now they just get to use the one in my home, which I bought bulk, and then they are not making new plastic. And of course, we are not responsible for other people's decisions on sustainability or not. Actually, my partner, my husband, he loves all the sustainability efforts that I do, and I've made the swaps within our home, and he tries his best at remembering, but being honest, he's not the best at remembering to bring his Tupperware everywhere he goes, or to bring his reusable cup wherever he goes. Sometimes he doesn't bring the reusable bags that we have for when we do our groceries. So my home is not 100% a sustainable home, not only because my husband brings non-sustainable things into our home, plastic bags whenever he shops or whatever, but also because I am not 100% sustainable in everything that I do. And I think that respecting the people that we live with and respecting their ways, their rhythms, and their own perspectives on life is so important, not only because as they are respecting our journey, we are respecting their journey. I also think that by patronizing someone, no one wants to change that way. I personally believe, and this is my personal belief, if it doesn't resonate with you, let it be in one ear, out the other. I personally believe that the best way that we can inspire others is by us living our own truth. And when people see you shining and happy within whatever makes you happy, which could be living a more sustainable life, then that invites others to be like, hey, I want to try what she's trying. She seems to be so in tune and so happy and so just like content with these lifestyle that she has and whatnot. So I think it's either coming from just by example, by us living our own truth, or by us sharing from a place that invites others to be more curious, have their own timeline for people to really, make the swaps whenever they want to, if they ever want to in their life. Maybe that's not their thing, and for me, it's been very beautiful to go through that journey. I'm not going to lie, because there's a part of me that every time that I have people visiting, especially when we used to live in Brooklyn, a lot of friends or family from Peru would come and stay with us, because that's what you do when you live in another country and you host people from your country. And something that a lot of people love to do in New York is buy stuff. So people would buy a lot of stuff when staying with us, and then they would leave behind so many plastic bags. And what I truly wanted to do, and I actually never did, was before they left, I would tell them like, hey, all of this is your trash and you should take it with you. Just like you're taking all those beautiful things that you bought, take all the trash that comes with it, because I don't want to keep it. And I'm just being so honest with you. That's what I really wanted to tell everyone that came to visit, that bought so many things, including my mom, being like, sorry, but you're leaving all your trash behind and I'm not responsible for this. You are the one that caused this trash. I feel like this is like confession moment. But yeah, trying to inspire from living from a place of love and from a place of curiosity instead of a place of patronizing and aggression, which, if anyone, maybe even if they are sharing about the most important topic in the world, if they're being patronizing or aggressive to me, probably I won't even listen to what they have to say. So I try to remember that when I am the one sharing something with other people. And the thing that I believe is most important of them all, if you only make one swap this plastic-free July or in your life or whenever you're watching this video, is composting. I feel that compost is queen. Compost is the one best action we can do towards making our living and our existence more sustainable and more in unity with nature. And composting can be as easy as just finding out if there's a composting center where you live in your town, or maybe a neighbor does their own composting. There are a bunch of towns around the world that have governmental food scrap collections. So what does that mean? It means that the food scraps that you make when cooking or when eating at home, you collect them. The way that we collect them is in a paper bag in our freezer that makes the smells not, macerate there and then make our house smell horrible. So we put them in the freezer, and once a week or every 2 weeks we go to a food scraps recollection center, and then this center turns these food scraps into compost. And compost is not only great because what it becomes is all your food scraps eaten by worms and mixed with a bunch of other things turn themselves into compost, which is this magical black thing that then you just add to your soil, and then plants and veggies and everything that you've planted thrive. So compost is actually an essential part of gardening. So compost is queen not only for the end result, but every time that we toss food scraps into our trash, once they are inside the plastic trash bag, they produce a bunch of toxic chemicals like methane, and then what all these chemicals do is they eat the ozone layer, and they are so bad for planet Earth, they are so bad for humans, they're so bad for animals, plants, mushrooms, all living beings within the world. So if there's one action that you take from this video, let it be start composting. And you can compost by doing what we do. We don't have our own composting hemp at our home. One day we will do that. Right now we can't because we live surrounded by deer and bears and raccoons and so many animals that we would have to have a very big container that is not accessible by these animals. We cannot even leave our trash out from one night to the other because they would come, especially the bears, and try to eat everything from the trash. So we also don't own our land. So, at some point we will have our own composting hemp, and it's one of the biggest dreams of my life. But anyhow, the way that we do it now is just we collect all of our food scraps and then we take it to this food scrap recollection facility here in town, and that is one way you can go about it. The other way is you can make your own composting hemp, and there is a lot that I'm not touching base on because I think that this video will already be very extensive without me going down the rabbit hole of every single little detail that I've learned within my journey. But if you can find either a eco-citizen, a zero waste school where you can learn more about every single aspect of the kitchen and the living room and the cleaning and the toilet and babies and harsh chemicals within everyday cleaning supplies and so many other things, I would highly invite you to do that. There are so many free resources on the internet. My friends from Permacrafters, this is not sponsored by the way, my friends from Permacrafters, Christelle and Christina, they own a eco-citizen school, which back in the day people would refer to as the zero waste school, where I have learned so much on my journey. They have lessons upon lessons about specifically period underwear, specifically household cleaning supplies, specifically how to forage, how to make your own remedies at home. So many things. And yes, you can pay and subscribe to a bunch of their classes, but you can also access their free library, which is an amazing resource where you can learn so many things. That is one way to do it. There's so many eco influencers out in the world. There's so many eco schools where you can learn so much. And if you are interested in really going down the rabbit hole one theme at a time, I think this has really been so inspiring and so helpful within my journey of period underwear. Am I trying a reusable Diva cup? Am I trying period underwear? Am I trying to make my own organic cotton pads? What are the difference? What are the pros? What are the cons? Etc. I think schools like these are such a great gem, and I am still a student in Permacrafters Eco-Citizen School because there's just so much to learn. Makeup. There's so many toxic, harmful chemicals within makeup, and we don't even know about it, you know? So I love how they really go down the rabbit hole to explain what each of these chemicals can do to our bodies. What are the alternatives? If we want to buy brands, are there any 100% zero waste brands? Are there plastic-free brands? Can we make our own makeup at home? And so many things like that. The makeup is just one example of a gazillion classes that you can find, and not only in Permacrafters, but there's just so many schools out there. If you are, just try and see, what are you curious about? Are you curious about herbs? Then maybe trying an herbalism class. The Herbal Academy has so many online classes that you can access. Try and see if your local farmers market is hosting any specific classes to learn how to make your own soap or your own products or your own bath bombs with natural products. And you know, I feel that this journey at first can seem very overwhelming, because once you start rolling the dice or the ball or whatever, you realize that there are so many things that we can change within our life. But I think that the most important thing is to always, always, always nourish that part of you that is inspired and that is nourished, so then you don't get burned out. Because I think that it can really happen to us that at first we get so excited and we want to try all the things at the same time and do all the changes at the same time, that then it easily becomes overwhelming, and then we just stop everything. We're like, you know what, tiro la toalla, this is not for me, it's also difficult, fuck it. So I think that the best way, in my experience, has been to start doing my own measurements and my own changes, one thing at a time. There are so many things that we can really change. And start in your trash. Start seeing, okay, this sponge that I use for 2 weeks to clean dishes, I toss it, and what is it made out of? It's made out of microplastics. Is there any sustainable option for that? Ooh, yes, there's loofahs. I've been using loofahs for 5 years, and once I'm finished using it, which is like 4 months within using the same loofah, I just cut it in pieces and put it in my compost in the fridge, and then I take it to my local composting facility. So there are so many things like that where we can change. And the last two things that I wanted to share within this video are, the first one, just going through the list of all the swaps that I've made in different areas of my life. And the second and last thing that I wanted to share with you all is the things that I regret swapping, which I was just so excited and I wanted to get the new thing instead of actually thinking and realizing I didn't need to make that swap. Alright, so now I can share with you the swaps that I've done in every single room in my home, and I want to start with the bathroom. So as I was mentioning, I have swapped 5 years ago to conditioner and soap bars, and I love these things. They're made of 100% plants, and the fact that these ones work for my hair type doesn't mean that they work for yours. So stay curious, try the brand that is local to you. What small business is making shampoo and conditioner bars near or where you live? Or actually, could you or would you like to learn how to make your own? And as I was sharing, I also keep a couple of huge mason jars for when my family or friends come over and stay the night. They can use these if they don't want to try the shampoo and conditioner bar. Great ways to keep the plastic from happening, even though it's not coming from you. And in my bathroom, I keep these with me. This is a reusable silicone Ziploc. It's by a brand called Stasher. I keep my soap, conditioner, and shampoo bars. And I swear by these containers because they are ideal for whenever you're traveling. I just put these in my bag, and then I don't have to worry about like any liquid spilling when I travel. I take this with me everywhere for the past 5 years, and I have a couple of these. So these are awesome. They also have bigger ones, and you can actually also use them in the kitchen. So I love these things. And this is how my bathtub looks. Those two conditioner liquid that I buy in bulk, and this one, that's it. And something that I wanted to share about the bathroom is this is the container and the one I keep my liquid soap. I personally don't use liquid soap, but my husband does, and when people come over, they sometimes use this as well. And this container was actually gifted. This is a reusable container by a North Carolina based company called Fillery. As mentioned earlier, this video is not sponsored by any brands, just so you know. Fillery, something that I love that they have is that they have a refillable subscription. So you can get their containers the first time, or not even get their containers, just have your own empty container that used to be, I don't know, like a sauce container that you bought back in the day and you have laid out in your kitchen. You can then get their mailing subscription service. So they will ship to you their liquid shampoo, conditioner, soap, lotion. They have a bunch of different things, and then you would just fill up your own container and send them back the bag in the one your liquid whatever came on, and then they will ship it back to you in whatever amount of time you want. Let's say you want to get conditioner and soap back in 3 months, and then you want to get your body lotion back in 6 months. So then they will ship it to you, and then you just ship it back and you keep reusing your same bottles, which I think it's genius. And I'm sure there's other companies out there that do the same, and I just don't know about them. So do a little research. Maybe there's one in your town, maybe there's one that ships near to you, and if not, I don't know. Then, ¿qué más? Papel higiénico, déjame traerlo. So, bathroom. What else do we use a lot in the bathroom and we cannot reuse? Toilet paper. So I've been using this toilet paper brand called Who Gives a Crap. They have these rolls that are amazing. They are 100% recycled. They are B certified. I'm just reading the back. They also have 100% recycled bamboo paper. And they are not only amazing because they are B certified and fair trade and super sustainable and all the things, but they also donate 50% of their profits to help build toilets in part of the world where they don't have them. So win for this brand. We've been using them, I believe, since 2020, and I love them. They're my favorite toilet paper. Their branding is actually also very funny, but they donate 50% of their profits to build new toilets for folks that don't have it around the world. I mean, like, you're cleaning your butt and at the same time you're helping someone in need out in the world. Awesome thing. And it doesn't come in a plastic bag, which I used to hate so much getting other brands of toilet paper. I need to use a toothbrush, and I get a new toothbrush every 3 or 4 months. I don't know if that's what I should be doing, but that's what I do. So I get bamboo toothbrushes, and then it's easier to dispose, and they're not going into a landfill, and they're like FSC certified and all the things. I have not shifted from toothbrush containers. I still use plastic ones, and that brings me to something that I wanted to share with you, which is in the United States there is this amazing brand called TerraCycle, and TerraCycle is a gift from the gods, because what they do is they recycle pretty much everything that cannot be recycled. So these toothbrush containers cannot be recycled. What I do is I collect all of them for a year or a year and a half, I don't know, whatever time. And then TerraCycle, you can either get your own toothbrush container box, which yes, they are super expensive, and I don't have a toothbrush container box, or you could do a little research and find out what shop in the world near where you live has one of those containers. So back in the day, I used to go to Manhattan. I would just save them up for the longest time, and then whenever I would go to Manhattan, I would drop them off at Package Free Shop. Package Free Shop closed, so I cannot drop them where I used to drop them anymore. And what they do is they recycle these, and then it becomes a new product, which is wonderful. So I am still collecting mine since January this year until I figure out what shop near to me has a TerraCycle box where I can drop them. And TerraCycle has box for everything that cannot be recycled that you can imagine. So even what we were talking about earlier, like see what things you put in your trash and try to not toss that. Then maybe go to TerraCycle if you live within the United States and see if there's anything that you're currently tossing that could go into one of the TerraCycle boxes. So there's a TerraCycle box for art supplies, and I will talk about that when we do our video for sustainable art making. And what else do we have in the bathroom? My hairbrush, my ugly hairbrush that I was talking about It's zero aesthetically pleasing, and I don't care because I'd rather have an ugly looking hairbrush than buy a new one that I don't need, because this already exists in the world and this already exists in my household. Please, let's normalize zero waste not looking picture perfect, and not every single jar that we have be matchy with another jar. Let's use what we already have. And this brings me to one of my favorite places where I've made swaps, which is the kitchen. So instead of using microplastic or plastic made sponges, I use loofahs. And these loofahs are a plant. This is literally the fruit of a plant that is dried, and then we can just clean with it. When you water it, it becomes like, it grows like a sponge, and then you use it forever. And once you are ready to toss it because it's falling apart and it's not even cleaning anymore, then just cut it, put it in your compost, and that's ready. I didn't bring my compost, but it's in the kitchen. Compost is one of the biggest swaps that we've made in our kitchen. And other swaps that we've made is reusable napkins instead of toilet paper or napkins made out of paper that we used to get back in the day. And this is also one of my favorite. This is called a Swedish cloth, and this cloth is made of a vegetable cellulose that, the same as the loofah, once you are ready to toss it because it's falling apart, you can just cut it and put it in your compost. And these are an amazing reusable replacement for paper towels, single-use paper towels. So these are one of my favorite gems, and they're amazing. They're super easy to clean and they last forever. They're so good. This one is not on use yet. This is one that I keep on my drawer for when the one that I currently have is done. One of my favorite things in the kitchen, reusable canvas bags for all my bulk purposes. A bunch of these I've bought in order to shop bulk, and I may have like 5 of like pretty looking canvas bags, maybe a couple more, maybe like 5 or 8 that I bought once 5 years ago, and I keep reusing them. And some of them, they just come either on gifts, or this one was from a cacao that I bought back in the day and I keep reusing it. This one came with some art supplies that were handmade in India, and it's one of my favorite pretty bags. So bags for days. I have some bagoo bags that I fold very little and then they become big. And I honestly use them for all things. For when I go to the farmer's market, to the supermarket, to the bulk shop, for taking my artwork from one place to the other. These are always in my tote bag. I always have one in my tote bag. And that brings me to a couple other things that I always have with me on my tote bag that I carry with me everywhere. My tumbler full of water, and a reusable cup that I can take with me. Even if I'm not planning to stop by a coffee shop, I always take this with me. It's super lightweight. It's actually made out of coffee husks. It's by a brand called Husky. Coming back to, you don't need to buy a new tumbler. If you already have one of these jars at home, just take this with you, you know? If you are traveling on a plane, some companies may not let you travel with glass. Most of them do though. So if you don't have any problem carrying something that weighs a little more, just use a reusable jar. Reusable jars are one of my favorite things that I reuse in my kitchen. This is a jar that was used for honey. We bought it. We bought honey and the jar came, and I've been reusing it for years. Now it currently holds my Tridoshik blend herbs. I buy spices and herbs on bulk at one of our local supermarkets called Mother Earth, and I take all the different sorts of jars that I have laying around my home, because why would I buy jars that they look pretty and all the same when there are so many jars that I already own? Every time that we buy something or a friend comes over and brings sauerkraut or kimchi or whatever, they just leave the jar, so then I can reuse the jar. And if I'm going out to a restaurant, I try to bring one of these reusable containers with me. I've been known to have either these or these on my tote bag, being in a restaurant and then having leftovers and just putting them here. You don't need a fancy Tupperware if you don't have one. If you have a mason jar or a coffee jar that is clean, just put your food left over there. You know, it will really start saving up so many things that we put in the trash when we don't need to make new trash if we just think for 1 minute in advance before leaving our home. I'm going to a restaurant, maybe I'll bring one of these, and it might come in handy if me or anyone else has some food left over. Now, this is one of the things that I regretted buying, but I don't regret it anymore. back in the day when I started my sustainability journey, I got myself a little bag with bamboo reusable cutlery, which I thought was such a great idea. Like, yeah, now I can travel with my cutlery with me everywhere that I go. And I regretted buying this because for years then I just thought, Caro, you already have so much cutlery at home. You can just literally take your silverware home with you, put it in a little bag, and just take it with you wherever you go. So I actually lost my knife and my fork at some point, and I started taking with me silverware from my home wherever I would go. So this year I traveled to Mexico and I had my little bag, but with, you know, stainless steel fork and knife, and they were taken away at the airport. I was only traveling with a carry-on. I didn't have any checked bags. They took it away from me in TSA because they could be used to like harm people, the silverware ones. So I used to regret buying this, and I would tell anyone, don't buy bamboo cutlery. You already have cutlery at home. Just take that with you wherever you go. Which, if you don't own bamboo, just take your silverware with you wherever you go. And then if you're traveling with carry-on to Mexico, get yourself a pair of bamboo ones, because they might take your silverware ones away from you. Now, last things for the kitchen. When I go to the bulk shop to get cleaning and toiletries, I have this huge plastic container. We used to have a zero waste shop here in Woodstock. When it closed, it was gifting away a bunch of containers, empty containers they had. So I scored these two, and now this lasts so many years. I've had this since June of last year, and look how little we've used. You know, I will probably have it for around 2 or 3 more years, and whenever it's over I can just reuse this huge jug to get more soap. And now we've run out of all-purpose cleaner, which we use a lot in my home, and now I need to go to my closest bulk shop to get bulk all-purpose cleaner. There's a bunch of other things. I have not even talked about laundry. Oh my god, that's a whole other world. Alright, laundry. So for laundry, I have tried different sustainable versions of soap, laundry soap, that doesn't come in a plastic container. One of them are these drops. The brand is called Drops, and they have these little containers that have soap in them. Going to a bulk or zero waste local shop, they would have regular powdered laundry soap, and I would just take a little, you know, one of those jars with me and fill it up with the powdered laundry thing. I've also tried the laundry strips, which are pretty much like a paper that you cut in 4 and put in the tumbler in the laundry. I know that there have been some controversies about those sheets of paper, which I'm not really aware of, so I cannot tell you about that. And the last thing in the laundry is a reusable wool ball that you just toss into your dryer if you use a dryer, especially in winter. Now in summer, I try to just clean my clothes in the laundry machine and then just put it out in the sun so it dries outside naturally. When I wash my clothes in the laundry machine, I use tap cold instead of using hot water, which is better for the clothes, or most of the clothes, and better for the climate, so you're not heating up water for no reason. And if you need to use a drying machine, they come in different colors, so you can get like a light one, a gray one, and a colors, or just 2, and then put the one with the right colors, and it will make your clothes dry faster. And then you don't need to be using the machine for hours for no reason, and at the same time it will help your clothes not shrink as much as it usually does. Lastly, I want to share with you a little bit about skincare and the swaps that I've made. So for skincare or makeup or adornment in general, I've been asked a few times if I believe that I have to put sustainability on top of quality, and not at all. I think that is so far from the truth. I feel that the makeup and the skincare that I buy, which is sustainable or as sustainable as I can go right now, is actually some of the best makeup and skincare that I've ever bought for myself. So I don't truly believe that's either or. I truly believe that great, clean, sustainable, and zero waste or plastic free or whatever makeup is way better than anything that I've tried before. So let me share a bit of my favorites. I oil my face in the morning, and at night I do Ayurvedic massages, and for a couple of years I was buying a brand called Living Libations that come in these beautiful containers. I haven't been buying Living Libations in a while because they are expensive and it's not something that's on my budget all the time, or as often as I wish it would be, because it's so luscious and it smells delicious and I love them so much. But at some point I stopped buying Living Libations and I started making my own version of Living Libations, seeing the ingredients in their label, and then I started getting myself big containers. This one is jojoba oil, I have sea buckthorn, I have tamu oil, and just a few oils that I mix together and I make my own oil. I was also gifted for the second time third time this beautiful collagen booster face oil by Anima Mundi, which is one of my favorite apothecaries, which is made 100% from plants, and this is one of my favorite oils ever. And all of these come in glass jars, which I use and reuse so many times. As I was mentioning, that now I do some of my own oils. Once I run out of this Anima Mundi one, I will make my own oil and I will reuse it without the label, either for my skincare or for other things. It could be making my own handmade watercolors, which I do, or so many things. These come in handy so much. So even though the top part is made of plastic, it's not going to the trash. I will reuse it so many times. Now, let me share with you a little bit of my face stuff and makeup. Meow Meow Tweet, the same brand that I use my shampoo and conditioner bars, makes this delicious vegan lip balms, and they are huge, as you can see. The one that I'm currently using is made out of coconut and cacao, and these things last me years, literally, and they are delicious. I have very cracked and dry lips, and these really come in handy for that. So my favorite one is Meow Meow Tweet. It's plastic free. This is made out of paper, and then once I am ready to toss it, it actually starts degrading while I use it, because I take like a year or more to go through the whole thing. So it starts becoming gnarly within little time, and once I'm ready to dispose it, recycling. Makeup. I use very minimum makeup, and the makeup that I currently use, most of it is made by the brand called Ilia, and Ilia is not plastic free. They do use recycled plastic for their products, but something that is awesome about Ilia is that I get my Ilia products either from the Ilia website, or if I'm in the city, or I can also order online from a shop called Credo, and Credo is pretty much a Sephora but for sustainable made and also natural ingredients makeup. So you can forget about all the harmful chemicals that go into makeup, which is a whole world, and I'm sure there's so much information about all the harsh toxins and chemicals that we can find on makeup on the internet. Credo sells free, clean, sustainably fair trade made makeup, and they actually have one of those boxes made by TerraCycle that I was mentioning earlier. So once you finish using your makeup containers from whatever brand, it doesn't even need to be like a clean brand, it can be something you bought off wherever, and then you can just ship the empty containers to Credo and they will toss it into their TerraCycle box, and TerraCycle will recycle every single thing of these makeup containers. So even though my makeup is not 100% zero waste and homemade and whatnot, once I finish using these, I just ship it back to Credo, and Credo will make sure that TerraCycle recycles it. What is great about TerraCycling Recycle is that they don't rely on the governmental recycling system. They make the recycling themselves here in New York. I'm actually not sure if it's New York or New Jersey, but it's either or. And this is pretty much most of the makeup that I use. I use bronzer, I use like a brush. I sometimes use this concealer for under my eyes. I use a pencil thing for my eyes, which I don't have here with me. I use mascara, also by Ilia. And for my eyebrows, I use these eye adornment thingy made by the brand Fat and the Moon. I've had this for 5 years. And I am no way near finishing it. I think this will last for future generations, but I use this very ugly old school thing that I got years ago. So I just chick, and then I do my brows with these, and that's it. And it's like all plant-based, and you can find more information on Fat and the Moon's website. And I keep all my makeup on one of these things that was gifted to me. So reuse what you already have at home. A lot of the things we don't need to buy new. We don't need to buy like the most new, sustainable, aesthetically pleasing thing. There's so much that we already own. And if we don't own it, just ask your friends, you know, and start the conversation. Even starting this conversation can be so beautiful and so helpful to just keep sparking and inviting each other to stay curious and see how we can keep exploring this journey until we are living more in unity with nature. I have said this so many times in the video, but I think that this journey can get overwhelming. So it's up to us to keep each other uplifted and to remember that there's so much beauty that we can learn in this journey. It's not about living zero waste. It's not about being perfectly plastic free. It's about trying your best in the conditions that you have right now. When me and my partner moved to Kingston, to upstate New York, we didn't own a car, and the only way you can go to make groceries is by car. So we were buying food from Instacart for a few months, and Instacart means that people will put your groceries on plastic bags, and you have no idea how harsh that was for me, but it was the best that I could do, and I learned how to live with it. So I have used plastic in my life. I sometimes still use plastic in my life. I'm not trying to lie and be like, I'm 100% zero waste, because I'm not. And I am still trying my hardest to reduce my footprint and my waste as much as I can, but also remembering that I am human and I'm not perfect, and I'm also having my survival as part of the journey. I'm currently on an Ayurveda journey because I'm trying to heal a long life condition that I've had, and some of the products that are sent to me by my Ayurvedic doctor come in plastic containers. So is there any way that I could ship them to TerraCycle so they can recycle it? I think there are ways that we can do it. And the last thing that I wanted to share is, earlier I was saying that when I started my sustainability journey and I would go back home to Peru, zero waste shops and package free shops were not a thing, but still I had bulk options in the market. Something that I've come to realize is that nowadays there are zero waste and bulk shops both in Lima, where my mom lives, and in Tarapoto, which is a small, teeny town in the jungle of Peru. There are sustainable shops that are specifically made for people that want to live a more sustainable and zero waste life. So, you know, if I am seeing these options, I mention this because, of course, living in a metropole like New York City, or now living in upstate New York, it would sound like, oh my God, you have so many options, which I do. I know that that's not in every part of the world, but just seeing that even in my dad's small town in the jungle in Peru, there are options, it really uplifts me to keep curious and to keep just supporting all those small businesses that are bringing forth the reality that we all want to see in the world. So if it wasn't clear, the last thing that I'm going to say is the practices that I swear by are composting, are buying in bulk, are buying local, making your own, and supporting small businesses that are really trying as hard as they can to survive. The competition is very ugly out there. You can go and buy a lot of zero waste swaps from Amazon, but that's not doing good to anyone. Please go support your small local business if there's something that you need to buy. I hope this video was helpful. I know I'm just like touching the top of the iceberg. There's so much that we can go down in sharing, and a lot of the things that I've shared, I am sharing on this video's description, like the zero waste school free resources, the favorite brands that I use and stuff like that. In case you're interested in that, you can find all of that in this video's description. And as mentioned earlier, I will be answering your questions in this video's comments, so please feel free to ask me any questions that you have, and in my capacity I will respond to them. If I don't know the answer, I'll just let you know that I don't know. I talked a lot. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's keep inspiring each other to just live a more sustainable life in our planet. Our planet is so beautiful, and you know, there are ways that we can make this happen. I thank you for sharing your time with me. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you like what you see. Give these videos a thumbs up if it was helpful, as it helps me keep living in the internet and keep brands supporting my work. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye.